Howdy, welcome to our Google Drive in Canvas training. This is presented by the Office for Academic Innovation. My name is Isabel Elizalde, and I'm excited to walk you through this brand new training that we are offering on how to use Google Drive in Canvas. This is part of a series, so if some of the things we're talking about today are a little confusing or out of place, we recommend to head over to our website and watch our recordings of our previous using Google Drive training so that some of this has more context for you. As an overview, this training session will review how to authorize, link, and embed content from Google Drive into Canvas. So in our other session, we talked more about how to add it to Google Drive and what that process looks like. Now we're going to start moving forward and talking about putting it in Canvas. So let's go ahead and housekeeping as typical. If you have any questions throughout this session, feel free to place them in the chat and we can try to answer them at the very end, or you can wait until the very end to ask your questions, as we will have a few moments of our time there. If you have a very specific question, maybe more pertaining to you and your individual case, we recommend to come to our office hours, and we have that on our website. I'm going to go through that in just a second. But this training will give you the opportunity to try some things out in Canvas alongside with me if you choose to do so. So if you would like to, you can log into Canvas right now. My personal favorite way to tell people how to log in is to go to LMS.TAMU.EDU. On the top right-hand corner, click that login button and then log in with your TAMU.NET ID and password. And while you are there logging in, more than likely, I'm actually going to pull up the website, LMS.TAMU.EDU. And on this website, I'm just going to show you a few quick things. So let me go ahead and grab my spotlight. Okay. So here on our LMS.TAMU.EDU website, I just want to highlight our training and support tab. You've already seen it since you've registered for training, more than likely. But if you scroll down to the middle of this, just keep coming back to our website. I recommend coming Friday afternoons, as that is more than likely the point in time where we release the training schedule for the next week. So office hours, that link to our office hours is right here, as well as our training. Come back every week, because the training schedule and the office hours schedule and all of this changes almost every week probably. So today we're going to talk about Google Drive and Canvas, Google Apps and Canvases tomorrow, and yesterday was using Google Drive. Our resources for any of these tools and some of our recordings will also be accessed from this area as well too. So that's LMS.TAMU.EDU, just a really quick rundown of that site, but I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. And training outcomes. What's a training without training outcomes? So hopefully you as a participant will be able to, by the end of this session, authorize, link, and embed content from Google Drive in Canvas. We're also, and we always tried our very best to do this, is help you identify some best practices for integrating Google Drive in Canvas. So what is Google Drive, right? So we talked about this in our other training using Google Drive a little bit, but Google Drive is a cloud storage source that we have here at A&M that has unlimited storage. If I check mine right now, so just for fun, we can check it because I have many years of stuff on here. I have 42.6 gigabytes used in my own personal Google Drive. So it is never-ending space. It's available to anyone at Texas A&M that has a NET ID and password. So students, faculty, and staff have access to it. And the types of files that you may find supported in Google Drive are going to be things like documents, images, audio, video, PDFs, whatever it is that you like to share with students or with others can be put in Google Drive. But why use it? Why use it at all, and why use it in Canvas? Well, with any course, any LMS, anything like that, there's always going to be a size constraint for the most part. So that's the number one thing, is since Google Drive has unlimited storage, that's one reason why you might want to use Google Drive over some size constraints, like if in any other LMS such as Canvas or eCampus. But the other really important thing about using Google Drive to display your content or kind of engage your students with the content in a student to instructor kind of interaction is that one, the documents are going to load easier in Google Drive. Two, students are already using Google Drive, right? I know myself as a student, I'm always using Google Drive because I use the classroom computer sometimes, I use my personal laptop, my work laptop sometimes. It's easier just for me to put everything on Google Drive, not worry about carrying a USB and just roll with it that way. So I do it all the time like that. So I know that that's something that's very easy to share files and kind of keep as a storage that I can access anywhere. And then the other big thing is that the student experience, as you start putting more and more things in your course, each and every one of those things has to load for the student every single time they access your course. So it starts to bog down the course size and really slow down that experience for them. So let's make it a little bit easier by putting links in the course that send them to Google Drive that's known for that storage, right? They have the best type of storage system available since that's their bread and butter, right? So that's the main reason why we recommend to use Google Drive, the storing, the sharing files, and then embedding and linking, sharing them with your students. Now they're going to get into really those steps that you take through to authorize Google Drive. I'm going to start switching between my presentation that I have in front of you and Canvas. First things first, let's authorize Google Drive in my Canvas account. So what I'm going to do is let's go into Google Drive, into Canvas. So here I'm in my Canvas course. I've already logged in. And this is the course I'm going to want to add Google Drive from. But before we actually get into the course, before we do anything, let's add Google Drive to our Canvas accounts. You can do this at the account level first before you do it at any course. You can do it from within the courses as well, but this is a little bit easier to do, is on the left-hand side. So this maroon banner that we have right here, it's called the Global Navigation. I'm going to go ahead and click on Account. And from here, we're going to click on Settings. Okay, so from this area, what we're going to do is I see some of my settings that I'm used to, but under this Web Services area, I'm going to actually, right here under Other Services, I'm going to click on Google Drive. If you already have it registered, you've already authorized it before, it would show up under Registered Services. I removed my integration just so that I can show you what it's like. But as soon as I click a Google Drive, it's going to ask me to authorize Google Drive access. I'm going to click Authorize Google Drive access. And what happens is it's going to take me to my Google account to sign in and authorize the account together. One thing to note, and as a best practice, is that if you see multiple accounts here, so if you see a personal Gmail or something like that, make sure you're clicking your TAMU account, because if you link it to your personal Gmail, it's going to keep looking for that, and that's a little bit harder to remove than it is from authorizing it with your TAMU the first time. So it's a little tip and trick that we recommend. So use your TAMU account. I selected that one. It's going to sign me into my Google account and kind of authorize things in the background. It's going to ask me if I want to allow. Yes, I do want to allow. And there you go. If I scroll down, I have authorized my Google Drive in Canvas. So that's going to be step one if you haven't done so already. Now what we're going to do, let's go back to our PowerPoint, is we're going to start inputting Google Drive content into Canvas courses. So I followed through Mahindra's training yesterday on using Google Drive, and I was able to start adding things to my personal Google Drive. So if I go to my Drive account, into a folder I created for my course, I already have some things in here, right? These are the things that I've included in my Google Drive that I want to embed into my Canvas course. So what I'm going to do now is go back to Canvas. We're going to go to my dashboard. And we're going to find that course that I want to access. So my training course. Okay. So in my Canvas course here, I do notice that I have Google Drive on the left-hand side, but I want to just make this as as a statement about this tool itself. If I click this, it may be scary. The reason why it's going to look scary is because it looks like if I authorize Google Drive from here, it's going, if I go ahead and click on authorize, I get this pop-up over here asking me to use Google. I'm going to select that account. If I click on here to authorize Google Drive from the course navigation menu and allow, and then next, what it may look like is going to look like I'm sharing my entire Google Drive with my course. That is not what the Google Drive in the left-hand side does. It just creates a link or like a bookmark or a quick access link to get to Google Drive. But you're not sharing your entire contents of your Google Drive with your students. It's just a quick area to access it for yourself personally. They give it like a bookmark or like a saved area for that. You could disable this from your course navigation if you wanted to. This is just to view. You won't actually do anything from this area. You're just going to view the content you have. The way you actually add content to your course is I'm going to do this from my modules area. I'm going to click on modules for my course navigation. And for this purpose, I'm just going to create a brand new module just to make this clean. Let's say this is week 4 content. I'm going to go ahead and add a module. And as every time I add a module, it gets added to the very bottom. I'm going to click and drag and move this up just so we can have it easily accessible in the very top of my course. And then many ways you can add Google Drive content to your course and within a module. First way I'm going to show you is after I've created my module or accessed the module I wanted to add this to, I can click on this plus sign on the top right-hand side of the module. Under the Add dropdown, I'm going to select External Tool, click on Google Drive, and then what's going to happen is it's going to prompt me to get into my Google Drive and select the file. So I'm going to go through my organization. I followed through the using Google Drive training yesterday and kind of listened to the us talking about how you want to keep it organized in a way that's easy for you to find things. I'm going to go ahead and submit after I've selected the content. I don't have to make any other changes here unless I want it to load in a new tab, not in Canvas, or if I want to indent it. But after I've done that and I've selected everything I needed to, I can click Add Item. And there's the item. If I click on this, it's going to take me to another page where the PDF that I've uploaded and integrate and kind of linked into Canvas is now going to show up here for my students, right? So that's one way that I could link the content into my course from Google. One way of many, I'm going to show you a few others. So that was using the external tool. If I go ahead and click this plus sign again, now what I want to do is add a page instead. I'm going to do a new page. I'm going to put, let's watch I'm going to title this document and then add item. And then once I click on this page, so I'm clicking here. I'm going to click on edit on the far right-hand side. And then from this document example, from here, I have the rich content editor. We talk about the rich content editor in almost every one of our trainings. This has changed a little bit since the first time we started delivering these types of trainings. But for the most part, on this area, if you click on this little plug icon, so it looks like a little electric plug, and click on that. If I haven't already used Google Apps, I would click, it would show up with all these apps. Another tip is if you click on here, nothing's going to happen. Click on the name Google Apps. Don't click anything below it. Just click on the name Google Apps itself. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring up my Google Drive once again, same view I'm used to from previously. Go back to that that folder, look for the document I want to include. And here's an important next thing that I can see when I do it from a page. From a page, I have the ability, or anywhere with a rich content editor really, I have the ability to embed. So the way that it previously looked in the other page where it was kind of in line, and it still stays in Canvas, but it's inside of Canvas with a wrapper, that's going to be the embed option. I could instead link, which I will do for this purpose. And what a link does is it creates a link, right? So if I prefer this view where I link and hyperlink all of the content for my students, or if I prefer the other view, so if I click on the plug again and then Google Apps, I'm going to embed that same document that I just had. Instead of scrolling down, I'm going to embed. And it will embed it instead too. Right, so I can embed it, I can link it, whatever I choose to do, and your own preference can be done from here. If I scroll down and I'm ready, I can click on save. And then I'm going to just take a look at what this page looks like for my students. But here it is. Here's the link to it from Google Drive itself. And then here is the embed to Google Drive itself, to that document embedded in here, right? So that's just something that you can do with all of your content. You can choose to do the link, you can choose to do the embed. If you're used to embedding videos, so that you're using Google Drive as that video storage area, you may want to embed the video into here so it can look similar to what you're used to with something like YouTube, and kind of keep everything in Canvas. Because if I click on this, it's going to take me to Google Drive versus being inside of Canvas natively. So that's just something to note with the two differences. It's really just a matter of preference. So back to our PowerPoint, we talked about how to link Google Drive to a module. We talked about linking Google Drive just now with the actual link. We talked about how to embed Google Drive with the actual document itself. And then now we're just going to wrap up for the next few minutes and talk about some best practices. So students are going to expect learning to happen in a variety of ways. They know that they'll be receiving stuff from you in the form of a document, PDFs, PowerPoints, videos, animations, whatever it is that you have for your engaging content. That's the way that they're used to making connections to your course. So let's make this experience as rich as possible by using a tool just like Google Drive to really house all of your documents. Another really good reason why you may want to use Google Drive instead of inputting it into your course is once you start making updates and changes, right? If you make the update or change to a Google Doc that's embedded in your Canvas course, you only have to update it from there. You don't have to do it from the original document, re-upload, put it into the course and all that. So the best practice is going to be using Google Drive for that content just to make things more efficient and user-friendly for you and your students. Another thing you may want to do is before you begin, make sure you're not logged into Google Chrome using a personal account. So what I mean by that is if I go into my Google Chrome, I use Google Chrome for everything. And so I use my TAMU account for here, just because you may run into some interference with your personal account, trying to interfere over your TAMU account, so on and so forth. So if you do experience any issues like that, it may be because of the signing in procedures too. So just keeping that as a note. Same thing with your students if they're trying to access your course content and you have set permissions to only TAMU people and they're using a personal account, they will not be able to see the content, right? So that's just something to keep in mind as you're delivering and kind of designing your course and putting stuff in Google Drive. Next, and then make sure you inform your students about that you're going to be using Google Drive from day one. They're already used to and familiar with the concept of using Google Drive for their courses and their classwork and all that. But just as a heads up that this is kind of a required technology that they need to authorize and utilize throughout the semester so they can kind of start off on the right foot of getting used to going to Google Drive and logging in that way, just for your course content specifically. And then we see this quite a bit is making sure that you have set your Google file sharing appropriately. In our using Google Drive training, we talk about this more in depth, but the restrictions by default, every document you upload to Google Drive is restricted to only people you share it with by email. You may instead choose to use anyone with TAMU, anyone at Texas A&M University with the link. That's probably the most commonly used way to restrict the sharing permission. So just making sure you do that as well too. That really concludes the training that we have for you today. We have some additional training opportunities. We're going to be posting the videos from previous trainings. And then more importantly, tomorrow we talk more about Google Apps. This is more about making assignments more engaging by having the students collaborate and discuss using the Google Apps tools that are available for Canvas. Available resources in a moment. After we're done with this conversation, I'm going to send a PDF of the presentation with these links, but we've kind of put some links together for you that you can utilize and refer to on your own. And then last but not least, our resources such as our LMS.TAMU.EDU website, our virtual office hours, training, our YouTube channel, social media accounts, our amazing support desk, and our Canvas community. All of these resources that we have for you, including us, so that we can all work together to make sure you are getting what you need from us. That concludes the training on Google Drive and Canvas. Thank you.
To learn more, please visit LMS.TAMU.EDU or email us at aihelp@tamu.edu. Thank you.